All right, today we're going to do a deep dive into the technicals for CPS Technologies, that's ticker symbol CPSH. Now, this stock has been making some pretty serious waves lately, and we're here to figure out one thing. Do the charts support even more upside, or is this explosive move kind of running out of gas? So first, let's just start with the number that got everyone's attention. A 79% price jump in just 3 months. I mean, that is a huge move. So the question on everyone's mind is, what is driving this thing? And maybe more importantly, can it actually last? Okay, so to get to the bottom of this, we're going to walk through 5 key areas. We'll kick things off with the big breakout moment, then we'll hit rewind to see the 3-month journey that got us here. After that, we'll decode all the key technical signals, map out the price floors and ceilings, and then finally, we'll explore 3 potential paths forward for the stock. So let's jump right in with that breakout moment. The stock just recently exploded, and it definitely caught the eye of traders everywhere. But look, a big price jump, that's one thing. Understanding the mechanics behind it, well, that's a whole other story. So the stock pops 22%, hitting a peak of $4.55. That's the headline, right? But what does the data underneath all that really tell us about the strength, the sustainability of this momentum? That's the real question we're going to try to answer today. Now, before we can look forward, we have to look back. So let's trace CPSH's path over the last quarter. It's really a classic story. You see this a lot. A period of quiet consolidation followed by a very, very loud surge. If you go back to mid-July, CPSH was just kind of sleepy, trading sideways around 250. Then, after a couple months of just moderate volatility, things absolutely ignited on September 22nd. You see this huge volume spike that pushed the stock to 365, and that really set the stage for the recent acceleration to its peak of 455 on October 10th. And volume tells such a crucial part of the story. During those quiet times, maybe 100,000 shares were trading hands daily. But on September 22nd, that number exploded to nearly 3 million shares. Wow. And this latest surge was also backed by almost 900,000 shares. Look, that's not just everyday traders. That kind of volume often signals that the bigger institutional players are starting to get involved. So that volume surge, that's our first major clue. Now, let's get our hands dirty and start decoding the other technical signals. Think of this as us popping the hood to see what's really powering this stock's engine. First up, moving averages. These are absolutely fundamental. They just smooth out all the day-to-day noise in a stock's price to give us a much clearer picture of the trend. And the rule here is really simple. If the current price is trading above its key moving averages, that is a strong confirmation of an uptrend. Now, there are 2 main types you'll hear about. Exponential moving averages, or EMAs, which react faster to what's happening right now, and simple moving averages, or SMAs, which are a bit smoother. For CPSH, the faster EMAs are trading way above the slower SMAs, and that gap between them, that is the key takeaway. It confirms this upward momentum isn't just strong, it's actually accelerating. Next up is the Relative Strength Index, or RSI. I love this one. The easiest way to think about it is like a momentum thermometer. It measures how quickly the price is moving. A reading over 70 means the stock might be getting a little hot, overbought, and under 30 suggests it might be cold or oversold. Simple as that. Okay, so when you put all these pieces together, you get a really comprehensive picture. CPSH's RSI is sitting at 66, so it's strong, but it's not in that extreme overbought zone just yet. The MACD and the ADX both confirm that momentum is picking up speed and the trend is getting stronger. And that on-balance volume, it shows consistent buying pressure, what we call accumulation, has been fueling this entire move. Okay, so we know the trend is strong. We've established that. But that brings us to the most important question, right? Where could the price actually go from here? And to answer that, we need to map out the key floors and ceilings for the stock. These floors and ceilings are what traders call support and resistance. Support is a price level where a stock tends to find a floor because buyers step in. Resistance is the ceiling where sellers tend to show up and stop the price from going higher. They're basically the battlegrounds for buyers and sellers. For CPSH, the most immediate ceiling is that recent high of 455. If it can break through that, the next hurdle is the psychological level of 460. It's also worth noting that there was a lot of trading activity between $3.95 and $4, which could act as a minor speed bump on the way up, too.
Now, on the downside, the first safety net, or floor, is right around 394. That lines up with the 5-day moving average. If that breaks, you've got the 10-day average at 378. And then, based on where a ton of shares were traded before, there's a really strong support zone between 335 and 340.
So, with the trend confirmed and our battle lines drawn, we can now map out the 3 most likely paths forward for the stock, based on all this technical evidence we've just looked at. All right, so path number 1 is the bullish case. Buyers stay in control, they smash through that 455 ceiling and make a run for the $5 mark. Path 2 is bearish. Sellers take over, profit-taking kicks in, and the price pulls back to that support zone around $4. And path 3 is just sideways, a stalemate, basically, where the stock takes a breather and chops around between, say, 430 and 460 as the market digests this big move. And that really brings us to the overall takeaway from all this analysis. The technical picture here is actually quite strong, and it suggests more upside is definitely possible. But, and this is a big but, a short-term pause or even a pullback wouldn't be surprising at all before the stock tries to make its next major move higher. So in the end, we're left with this really fascinating tension. The evidence clearly points to a strong, established trend, no doubt about it. But at the same time, those momentum indicators, they're getting a little warm. So the big question now is, which force is going to win out in the short term? The conviction of new buyers pushing the price higher, or the temptation for recent winners to just cash in their chips and take profits off the table? That's what we'll all be watching.